And a good Sunday morning to you. I'm Andrea Oliver. So excited to have you join us for this edition of Polk County Today. I'm telling you, whatever you're doing, you want to come close because this is a not to be missed show. So we've all been a part of that group. You know the one I'm talking where the leader does not relate well with the group participants. Maybe you've been that leader. Well, today's program will prove invaluable in helping you navigate the ways to overcome those issues and assist in how to have leadership success. Of course, we are welcoming back our resident coach, Emily Rogers, to help us with that conversation. If you've just been joining us on Polk County Today, you might not know, but if you've been here, if you've visited with us for a little bit, then you know Emily is a business consultant, executive coach, and retreat leader who helps organizations and individuals grow and realize their full potential. It's always such a joy to have you in studio. And I have to tell you, she has this biggest, brightest, smiling face. I know she's up to something. Emily, welcome back.
Thank you, Andrea. It's always a joy to be with you and your listeners and back here in your studio.
I can hardly believe this, but it's been several months, maybe close to a year at this point. And I know you're a busy lady. I try to book you, and I'm like standing way back in the way back of the line. So tell me, what have you been up to, and most importantly, what are you up to?
Well, catching up with you is always a priority, and I always want to make time for that. So personally, life is good, happy, healthy, wonderful relationships that are flourishing. So that's all good. Business is exciting right now. It's growing, and I'm expanding my team and expanding my capacity to serve the businesses and organizations of Polk County. And I'm most excited that this Monday coming up, I am sponsoring our city's next City Maker Award for the first time.
Tell us about that.
So for those that don't know about the City Maker Award, it was started a few years ago by some visionaries here in our community. And it's designed to shine a light on people in our community that are making a really positive impact and that are doing it really off the radar and aren't really looking for any credit. So tomorrow, Debbie Crumbly will be recognized and acknowledged, and I'll be at the City Commission meeting there to celebrate her and all the wonderful things that she's doing in this community. And she's leading in many powerful and impactful ways. And so I'm so excited to be part of that.
That is exciting. And can I tell you a little secret?
Yes.
The last City Maker Award that was given out at City Hall in front of City Commissioners, I presented it.
Oh my gosh. So that would have been just last month in January. And so I'm next up in February. That's beautiful.
That is just, we couldn't have planned this any better.
Yes.
All right. So today we want to talk about leadership success. And certainly anything we do, we want to be successful. But I think if you're going to be a leader, absolutely, you want to experience and to be of great impact, you want to have some success. So I think it might be beneficial, Emily, if we would identify the traits of a successful leader and then subsequently what leadership success looks like.
Yes, certainly. So let's start there. Leadership is inherently relational.
Wow.
So at its core, an effective leader needs to be able to relate well. And that comes in the form of showing care and concern, having warm and caring relationships, building trust among team members, and being available to guide and mentor and develop as necessary. So there are many qualities that make up an effective leader, but I believe that one is truly foundational.
A lot of times people, and I think we've talked about this before, people are thrown into a place and they are either because they're available or people think they have the expertise in an area. And so they're thrown in a position of leadership, but they're not equipped to lead.
Yeah, that's a great point. So many individuals grow and evolve in their careers because they are highly skilled and highly capable. And they deserve to be rewarded for that. And when faced with a new leadership position or leadership challenge and the need to lead through others versus do it all ourselves, can become a real growth edge, as I like to call it, for a leader.
Would that be the other word for challenge?
Yes. Yes, depends on how you look at it. It is a challenge and it's an opportunity, truly, for a leader to learn to lead through others.
That is an entirely, I think, new concept to a lot of people because, as you say, many of us come from the school where you're in the position, you lead, you do it through sometimes brute force because you got to plow through and you got to do. And you're saying that the best way to lead is through creating a relationship.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and leading through others.
Yes. So explain that.
Yeah, so this individual that you just described that gets promoted because they're really great at their job, at the skills and capabilities of their job, but now all of a sudden they're managing a team. That's a whole different dynamic because that leader can no longer be relied on to be the only one to get things done.
Right.
And to shoulder the burden of everything that needs to be accomplished by that team. So therefore, that leader must inspire and motivate and build trust and the capacity of others to deliver on the results that are needed for that team or that organization or that company. And so that's a vastly different skill set than someone who's just rolling up their sleeves and getting the job done themselves.
Emily Rogers is in studio with us on this Sunday. And as you know, Emily is a resident coach. She's more than that. She's an executive coach. Emily is a retreat leader and a business consultant. And she does a lot of extensive work with groups, with organizations and individuals in creating leaders, just like we're talking about today. So the skill set that we're looking at, you say, will help to promote a team and will also help and understand that when you designate, it doesn't mean that you are any less of a leader, but that you have created pockets in your team, I suppose, Emily, I don't know, or groups in your team even that will ultimately work towards the best. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is what you're hearing. And so that comes in the form of delegation.
Right.
And to delegate well, you have to be able to have a great relationship with somebody and the person needs to trust your guidance and what you're asking them to do. They need to understand the why behind they're being delegated.
How do you develop
this task.
trust?
Oh gosh, that's something we could talk about for the next hour. I think it's being clear, being transparent, explaining the why.
Wow.
It is also related to creating safety is really important in a team. And when I say safety, there's of course physical safety, but there's emotional safety that is necessary for teams to thrive under an effective leader. And so that's another part of developing trust is that emotional safety that needs to be provided within the team as they are collaborating and working together to achieve the goals of the team collectively.
Give me a scenario of that emotional, because what comes to mind is a lot of times we find people in groups and they are so afraid to fail that they are never vulnerable enough to say either, hey, I need some help, or hey, I'm not sure that I completely understand the task at hand. And if somebody, I think, can lead in such a way that they help their team members to understand, certainly we expect a great job from you, but it's okay to not have it all together. And it's okay. This is a safe place where you can ask for help.
Yes.
I think that is such an absolute amazing thing in a leader, is being able to create that safe place.
Yes. Create the safe space to ask the questions that need to be asked.
Yes.
Create the safe space to challenge each other in productive ways.
Wow.
Create the safe space to fail. If you want your team to innovate, you have to create a safety net for them to fail, because otherwise they're not going to be innovating.
Right. And they're not going to lead either. They're not going to become leaders themselves or can't step out because they're so afraid they'll never be able to they'll never be able to grow. If we are to be successful as leaders, we ourselves have to be okay with failing.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah. We have to be vulnerable ourselves as leaders. And that creates an environment where others feel safe. Also being vulnerable and saying, I don't have all the answers, or I messed that up and I need to go back and do that over, or I didn't show up at my best in that conversation and I apologize. Can we start over? Leaders need to model that. If they want to see that in their team, they need to model that. They need to walk the talk.
Yes. One of the things I want to talk about, and I'm going to remind our listeners that we're talking today with Emily Rogers, our resident coach, and also a business consultant, executive coach, and retreat leader. And Emily, I think we don't underscore enough how to tackle conflicts in a group setting.
Oh, sure.
And I think the inability to navigate conflict sometimes is the very demise of any great teamwork. So talk to us about conflicts are, I think, a natural part of life.
Yes.
Whether individually with, or,
Yes.
one-on-one with someone or in a group. How do we deal with conflict as leaders, and how do we make sure that the team is able to move on from conflict?
Yeah. I work with teams a lot on productive conflict resolution. And it is so important that teams feel comfortable in a state of what I like to call natural tensions that occur in the workplace. In any given organization or business, you're going to have two different teams that have competing priorities. And when those competing priorities come to the surface, then natural tensions occur. There's a team that has to sell something, and then there's a team that has to fulfill whatever was sold,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And natural
yes.
tensions can occur between those two teams and many other teams within an organization. And so teams that have what I like to call productive conflict resolution muscles built can handle those situations much better, because they can come to each other and they can have the honest conversations about what isn't working and why, and they can immediately begin to identify how to solve the problem together in a collaborative way.
And back to what you said originally, I don't think that honest conversation happens when people feel unsafe.
Oh,
If
correct.
there's going to be retribution, for example, if
Yep.
someone might think they'll lose their job if they're honest. And so I think, or maybe you can tell me what I'm hearing you say, that a great and successful leadership style is where a place is created where people can even solve conflict well.
Yes.
by coming to the table and feeling that their voice matters.
Yes, I like to call it, there's a container that's created that allows for productive conflict resolution. And that involves team members having conversations before the conflict even occurs about how they're going to be together when
Wow.
it happens.
So you're
'Cause it's
saying have
going
this
to happen.
conversation even before.
Absolutely, because when it happens, then we've got some tools and resources and language to draw from to be in the conflict together in a productive way versus a destructive way.
We're almost down to the wire, and I don't want to leave until we address what do you think are some of the greatest hindrances? We have about a minute. What are some of the greatest hindrances to a successful leadership?
Some of the greatest hindrances.
Or
First and
the
foremost,
greatest.
I would say would be blind spots. So when leaders aren't even aware of the blind spots that they have, the things that aren't working for them as a leader, then that can be the greatest downfall. Because until we know what we need to work on as a leader, we can't work on it. And so getting feedback, asking for feedback is incredibly important as one's leading.
Emily Rogers has been our guest today. And of course, you're going to have to call this lady and have her come in and work with your team. We bring her here because we want to expose this amazing talent we have right in our community. So Emily, if you would real quick, share your contact information and a number or where folks can get a hold of you.
Sure. You can find me on my website at emilyrogers.com. Thanks, Andrea.
And Emily, thank you so much. We have that information. We have numbers. We have all the resources, and we'd love to make that available to you. Emily, thanks again for being here.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And thanks for joining us. We'll talk again next week.